across the Mississippi. He loops around the perimeter, eyes shut in bliss. The four seals are perpetual bathers, circling the pool in contented basking tedium. They almost seem to wink at you, as if to poke fun at the miserable tourist caught July heat, though the month is October. The seals only dip and flip as you wipe your sweat away. Though the sun beats down, the sea lions, oblivious to heat and other waters not so idyllic, hypnotize you from the stadium with their frolicsome swim. You're tempted to climb the fence to cool yourself on their sailing backs, but you sit nonetheless as they wave hello, these reposing agents of afternoon peace. And lastly, here is another nonfiction piece called Nightcap. We sip whiskey. It burns like acid, yet the ice cube in my shot glass, to unlock the flavor my father insists, cools the cowboy fire. The heat blossoms in our chest. It's liquor that will grow hairs on a man's breast. Maybe it's more hair we need for men like us, awkward in the compulsory inheritance of an Alabama you-don't-take-shit masculinity. My father and I sit out on a small apartment patio, room enough for 2 lawn chairs and a few potted plants. Unsolicited coconuts gathered by the neighborhood's work-for-money hobo sit at my feet, ripe and whole until his machete hacks the fleshy fruit open. The complex's narrow driveway is paved directly in front of our row of units, a plastic gate on his other side, and then a tin-roof warehouse obstructing a view of the northern range mountains. When driving on the turbulent highways in Port of Spain, I am consistently surprised by the mountain periphery. Mountains, peculiar to my below sea level comfort, demand I notice that I am a part of, locked in this Caribbean island, displaced from another sultry, repetitive summer in New Orleans. I couldn't find work to pay my own rent back home, a student my only reliable occupation, and I needed a break from a relationship before I broke it. I needed someplace different to flounder. My father realized my spirit dulling about the summer, took into account his 55-year-old man loneliness increasing, so he got me a one-way ticket to his little world south in Trinidad. Ever since a Hindu yoga class held in a park's gazebo awakened him to maintain good posture, he sits up straight in his chair, hands resting in his lap to hold the little glass. As I prop my feet up on the banister, he prompts me to do the same. We attend the yoga class every Wednesday evening in our linen tunic and pants. There, he's a charming, quick-witted Southern man surrounded by middle-aged Indian Trini ladies who giggle at this piece of work. His short spiked hair is almost entirely gray. Only his hazel glazed eyes signal the whiskey and the toll. His Hindu girlfriend, Cindy, aged halfway between my father and me, is sleeping inside. On Sunday afternoons, she manicures her nails, prepares my father's nasal wash, or massages his feet. Cindy wakes up early on weekdays for work in Port of Spain, an hour away. Rarely does she make weeknight meals. Boy, was your mother a good cook. All those meals, 18-something years, every day, my father muses. She just said to heck with it at the end. For all the years that my mother and father were married, it is strange to hear one talk about the other in retrospect. Your mother, he says, or your father, she says, are titles of dissociation. Together, they used to pray for me and my siblings in the mornings with their cups of 8 o'clock coffee. Now, one calls me to ask if the other will be in town for Christmas. When you are raised by two, loved by two, who grow to be a union of one to the child, despite the rifts between them, how do you divide the cell of your parents to yield separate, equal halves without losing completely the architecture of home? My father has been divorced from my mother for over a year, and I'm afraid he is just now unraveling. I could go live with your sister in Arkansas or marry a nice woman there. I'd see my grandchildren. An idea's man indeed, my mother always said. His fantasies of life once he leaves Trinidad possibly at the end of the year, always hinge on reassembling his family in some way. I like being a husband, a father, a grandfather. I loved being married. The divorce stripped him of the roles that allowed him happy size. Or we could rebuild an old house in the Marigny. You could do some of the work. I just can't with my back. Perhaps, I say. The whiskey, it nudges me into optimism. I wonder if we shouldn't indeed be a pair of Renaissance men who, like the Irish from whom we descend, can sing, drink, and share sadness. We could while away the days on restoring a home, eating in part from our courtyard garden. We could stroll the quarter, discussing a trip to Argentina, always having a friend in blood. Unable to cope with the single life in the small bayou and sugarcane town where the marriage came to its end, the pétanque games and wine with friends insufficient, he had Cindy move up to live with him. He proposed to her, only to void the engagement months later. Of course, it was rash to consider marrying again so soon, but I love women, he says. He is addicted to women's love. When John came home from work one afternoon, she was gone, flying back home to the island. He chased after her by accepting a professorship at a university in Trinidad. Since then, they fight so much. She nags and tantrums like a child. He is the center of the universe and too worn to fight with passion. They operate clumsily in the notion of a common law marriage. She calls him her husband. He calls her his girlfriend. I need her. I want her, but I don't love her. It's so nice to have someone to sleep with. I let him talk and stopped trying to solve. Stray dogs lope by, heartily acknowledging us, like the locals from my neighborhood back home, who pass my porch on their way to the dive bar next door. I continue to sip. The breeze from the sea is never ending, rustling you as if to nudge you forward. John becomes my life for this month of summer, as I have nothing here besides him. So then, these are the nights of my June in Trinidad, drinking till rose-cheeked with my father as we open the past, swimming till lost in its ocean, or we estimate our futures, harshly unequal in their years. But mostly, as I sit here with him, I listen and console in the way he taught me, so that he may be healed again. A light midnight shower falls. Caribbean rain is refreshing and brief. The ice cubes have both melted in our glasses, diluting the sharpness of the whiskey to easy swallows.